Hi people, it's Archivist here, and as many of you may know, Apple recently did one of their keynotes, where they talk about brand new products and refresh old ones, and a lot was talked about in its recent keynote. There was the Apple Watch, some refreshes to the old MacBooks, but I think what blew most people away, just in terms of shock value if you want, was this new MacBook. It's not a MacBook Air, it's not a MacBook Pro, it's just the MacBook. And this isn't a totally new idea from Apple, because a while back they did have a product just called the MacBook while the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro existed, and then they discontinued it. And the reason I think they discontinued it back then was because it didn't really have a purpose. You had the really thin and light ultra portable MacBook Air, and then you had the very powerful MacBook Pro. So the MacBook just didn't really fit anywhere, and now they've brought it back. And the thing is, that problem hasn't really changed. That's still an issue here. Now, it has to be said that this MacBook makes a very good first impression. You can choose from silver, gold or space grey, and I have to say it's a very interesting idea to have a whole laptop be gold, apart from the black border. I mean, it's one thing to have an iPhone that's gold where the back's gold, but you know, the full area around the keyboard, maybe that's a bit too much, but hey, I think you'd have to see it in person to decide that. It's also very thin. It also has a Retina display like most Apple products do. It's got a pixel density of 226, which pretty much puts it on par with the MacBook Pros. It's also got SSD, which is of course great for booting up quickly, launching applications quickly. It's pretty much essential for a ultra portable laptop. But there is one major flaw with this new MacBook. In order to make it so thin and light, they had to remove the fans. And of course, if you have no fans, you're in danger of overheating the laptop if the processor's too fast. So what they've done is, they've given this thing a very weak processor. So you've got either a 1.1 or 1.2 GHz dual-core Intel Core M processor with 4MB shared L3 cache. Now, that is not good. That is very weak, and really when it comes to anything like editing, Photoshop, anything that requires a decent amount of grunt that you're not going to find in your average smartphone or iPad, these days I think of laptops as having to have a decent amount of performance in order to distinguish themselves from tablets. Because tablets are becoming so prolific and everyone likes them, you need to have a distinguishing factor when it comes to laptops. I mean, you can't even say keyboard at this point because keyboards can be attached to tablets. So the only real distinguishing factor I tend to see when it comes to laptops is of course the full desktop operating system, but also the power. And if you're not using that distinction of power, then people say, why should I get an expensive laptop when I can get a far cheaper tablet? And that's where I think the MacBook falls short. It's not going to appeal to a lot of people for that reason. It's got a very, very nice and attractive design, as Apple always provide, but where does it fit? Who does this appeal to? I mean, let's think about it for a second. If you want a powerful but portable laptop, you've got the MacBook Pro, and I own one and I cannot recommend the MacBook Pro enough. Such an awesome product. If you're looking for something that's super portable, you go for the MacBook Air. Also got a ton of battery power. But what do you choose here? I guess maybe if you want a portable device that has a Retina screen as well and is also a laptop, then you'd go for it, but even then it just seems like an iPad would be a far more obvious option, because this thing looks to be appealing to the casual user, someone who just wants a very elegant, very functional machines when it comes to general tasks. But that is where tablets now reign supreme. We don't need those kind of laptops anymore. In fact, that's why I argue ultrabooks are kind of redundant, because they're just performing the same task as a tablet. I think you need to make a laptop powerful these days, otherwise people will ask, why not just get a tablet? People even tend to prefer a lot of the time a touch interface. It's very intuitive. This is how I think of it. You have tablets which are ultra portable, very convenient but not much power, so you got to a laptop, portable still, and they've got a decent amount of power. Then you're up to the desktop, not at all portable but lots of power. So if you're making, think of it this way, if you made a desktop underpowered, then why would you not get a laptop? And so if you're making a laptop underpowered, why do you not get a tablet? And that seems to be what they've done here. Because the difference between maybe the MacBook Air and a tablet is that the MacBook Air has insane battery life. It's even higher than an iPad. It's crazy. Also, you might just, I don't know, they're quite cheap as well. You can get a MacBook Air fairly cheap, but this is by no means cheap, this MacBook. to be honest, I can't say I'm a massive fan of the MacBook Air either. I'm really all about the MacBook Pro. I mean, you see all these different colour designs. I think they know what they were going for here, Apple. They know they're not appealing to the person who's tech savvy. They're appealing to the kind of person who sees all these different colours and thinks, oh, which one should I get? I want to get the coolest looking one. I mean, look, I need to establish myself here. I don't hate Apple at all. I'm a really big Apple fan. I really enjoy a lot of their stuff. But sometimes they make mistakes or they do something that I don't think is wise. I think the iPad mini, to be fair, is still not what it should be because the screen, while high in pixel density, doesn't have decent colour saturation compared to other iPads. And I think the MacBook, the problem with this product is that it just doesn't fit into their ecosystem very neatly, for the same reason the original MacBook didn't fit neatly before. They've just made the same mistake again, in my opinion. I think it will probably sell well because it does look nice. When I first saw it, I thought this is the coolest thing in the world, this is amazing. But then the moment you start to look at the specs, you think, wait, why is this so expensive? You know what I think Apple should have done here? They should have made a dead cheap MacBook, not powerful at all, no real caution to design, and just made it ultra budget, like we're talking 400, 500, 600 pounds, something that anyone can afford, because that way they could introduce people to MacBooks and then they could go on to a more powerful one. But here they've made it so that the internals are weak, but the external just still makes it a premium product. As always, people, thanks very much for watching and see you next time.